right, guys, what's going on? This is Jamar Dawson. Hope you're doing great today. And I wanted to talk about the best cryptos to invest in during a bear market. To do so, I wanted to bring in my good friend, the crypto conquistador himself, John DuBard. John, how's it going with you?
Everything's going wonderful, man. How you been?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Now, as the folks who are viewing this know, a bear market is when the markets dip 20% or so during a period of time from their all-time highs. Now, that's like kind of a traditional stock market logic. When it's crypto, a lot of people define that drop to like 50% or more just because of the volatility and price swings you get with crypto. But yeah, man, we're having an interesting time right now here in the middle of 2022. You got various coins falling below 85% of what they used to be. You got companies closing up shop. You got exchanges freezing withdrawals. And I think it's a good time if people are just trying to get into the market for the first time to pick up some deals. So what I wanted to do with you today, John, is just go back and forth. We each pick our top cryptos. Let's just say top 3 cryptos to capture in a bear market. What we used as criteria for this was, number one, having a good, strong development team or a consensus of developers that are really focusing on making good projects for the particular coin, and then expected price performance in the future. So I'll go first, and then John, you can get yours. We'll just go. It's almost like a bear market draft. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and start, and I'm really excited to hear what your picks are. So number 1 for me is Cardano. Cardano it's not a super sexy token. It's not one of the ones you're going to hear on meme sites or anything like that. And that's perfectly fine with me. Cardano is all about business. One of the co-founders of Ethereum actually founded Cardano way back in the day. And I believe it's poised for some really big business moves this year. Certainly in the near future. They have a hard fork coming in that's called the Vasil fork, really just the next couple of days. And a lot of whales have pounced on that. But not only is Cardano the largest proof of stake cryptocurrency, it has like 0.01% less the energy usage of Bitcoin. It also utilizes multiple layers. It has like a layer that tracks transactions similar to Bitcoin, and then it has a computation layer similar to Ethereum. So it's really neat, has solid governance with it. It's focused on creating projects that have lasting Web3 value, which is really important for me and one of the small businesses that I own, since we're focused on Web3 development and helping people in Web3. So anybody who's trying to help that is really good for us. The new fork that they're about to roll out is supposed to improve speed, scalability, things like that. So the all-time high was like $3.16. Currently, it's about 45 cents. So that's a 7x return. That's really solid for a solid company. So that's what my number 1 pick is, Cardano. And I am going to load up, so to speak, on that during this bear market. What about you, John?
For me, I would say because of certain bullish nuances, Hex is my number 1 pick. Now, I know a lot of people would say Hex hasn't proven itself yet, but the unique thing about Hex is it's similar to Bitcoin. It is a store of value, but Hex does not destroy the environment by having miners mine it and run all of this equipment and use up electricity. Hex, instead of paying miners to destroy the environment, it pays stakers to lock up their tokens and you receive yield on them. And the thing that I'm most bullish about in Hex is the functionality of what's called a T-share. When you have a T-share, you get 20,000 Hex. And when you take that 20,000 Hex and you lock it up and tie it to the blockchain, they pay you 6 Hex per day per T-share. Now, that's not a lot of money, but you think if you have 5 T-shares when Hex gets $80, 5 T-shares is 30 Hex a day. And at $80, that would yield you $876,000 a year on your money in just yield, not even touching your principal. 2, the function of that T-share where you lock your money up ties up the supply and it decreases the supply and helps the price go up as demand for the token increases. So I'm very bullish on Hex. And one last reason I'm very bullish on it is one thing a lot of people don't talk about, and that is liquidity. Now, what is liquidity? Liquidity has to do with the amount of adoption that token has and how much of it is actually traded. The more it's traded, the harder it is to push the price up. The less it's traded, the easier. So for instance, if I had a bucket full of water, I can stick my foot in that bucket and the water level will raise. Why? It's less water in that bucket. But if I've got a swimming pool, I can't stick my foot in the swimming pool and you notice the water level go up. Why? Because there's more water in it. It has more liquidity. If it was a token, the swimming pool would have more liquidity than the bucket. So Bitcoin is the swimming pool. Hex is a bucket of water. It doesn't take as much money going into it to raise or lower the price. Now, that makes it more volatile. It's going to dip more in a bear market, but it can pump harder.
Okay. Okay. That's certainly great analogies and stuff. A lot of people looking at Hex. I think the founder of Hex was on Fox Business the other day. So definitely a lot of movement and certainly a lot of growth potential for Hex, especially with some interesting things that the founder of it is releasing in the near future. My number two, and this is going to be real vanilla and boring, and that's perfectly fine for me. That is Bitcoin. Okay. They call it the king crypto for a reason. It's been around the longest. It has a long established, seasoned history development community. It's open source and it's getting worldwide adoption. You know, people across the planet are actually paying for goods right now in Bitcoin. In South America and in various African nations, people are starting to get on board and pay for just simple goods with it. When you have legislatures talking about your token and using it as legal tender, like SB 1341 in Arizona, you know you have something pretty stable. Now, the all-time high for Bitcoin was right around $68,000. Currently, it's in the $20,624 range last time I checked it. So that's about a 3.3x growth. Now, that's not a huge return like some of these small altcoins may have that you see about that are going up and down and then fading away. It's not going to have a massive uptick like that at this point in its phase, but it's likely not to go anywhere. And it's certainly likely to get back at least to its all-time highs. Many people have some really good predictions for Bitcoin. Similar to what you were saying earlier, John, about stores of wealth. Bitcoin is a great store of wealth, store of value, because it's likened to gold, and it certainly becomes more scarce at certain intervals. And so I believe it's a great opportunity to get in. You may not be getting in at the $10 level, but at the very least, you're going to be able to get something that outpaces inflation. And that's the reason why you invest, is to outpace inflation. Otherwise, you'd just be saving it under your mattress or something. So that's my number two, Bitcoin. How about you?
Okay, my number two is not far from Bitcoin, but it's Bitcoin's little brother, Ethereum. Now, why do I like Ethereum? Well, what is Ethereum? Ethereum is digital oil. It powers stuff, it runs stuff. You have tokens, they run on Ethereum. Decentralized platforms, they run on Ethereum. So in the gold rush, the first million wasn't made digging for gold. It was really made selling picks, shovels, work boots, groceries, things people need, things that power and run their everyday life. Those steady things, they never went away.
Yeah.
So because Ethereum runs all of these tokens that power these metaverses, because it runs all of these other cryptos. As people buy those cryptos, they subsequently have to transact in Ethereum, which puts buy pressure on the token. Also, they implemented, I think it's EIP 1559, where every time you do a transaction on Ethereum, some Ethereum is taken out of circulation. So when there's a decreasing of the supply of a token and there's increasing demand, that helps the price go up over time. That scarcity component is very, very important when you're looking at tokens that actually have real value and can scale and have a strong community. So because of that, I would say Ethereum also Ethereum is a four-sided market. Usually when a two-sided market gets past 100 billion in market cap, it's difficult to disrupt. Craigslist has not revamped much about itself over the years. Amazon.com hasn't. But because they've become dominant and they have two sides, buyers and sellers, they're hard to disrupt. Well, Ethereum is a four-sided market because you have buyers, you have sellers, you have miners that run a complex set of equations with computers to mine Ethereum, and you have people that design tokens and things on top of it. So because it has so much utility and has four sides and has already become dominant, it's going to be very difficult to disrupt Ethereum. So four, Ethereum is less liquid than Bitcoin. When I was talking about the bucket of water and the swimming pool, okay, Ethereum's not a bucket of water anymore, but Ethereum is more like a kiddie pool. It doesn't take as much to move the price up because it's not as adopted as Bitcoin. So whereas the last cycle, Bitcoin only did a 23x, Ethereum did a 62.5x. So it usually outperforms it 3-1. So that's my reason for choosing Ethereum.
Okay. I really like Ethereum. That was like one of the first I got into. I wish I would have got into Ethereum when it was like $211 when I
Wow.
first looked at it. Yeah, I'm kicking myself for that now. My third pick is actually kind of interesting. It actually isn't technically a crypto coin. It is actually a common stock that's traded on the NASDAQ, and that is Coin, COIN, which stands for Coinbase's stock. And man, Coinbase, that has been the place for me. We're going to put a link in the description if you guys want to check out Coinbase and get a reward for using our code. But Coinbase, it has taken a beating over the last couple of months as we've kind of approached the crypto winter. It's, I think, come down about 81% from its all-time highs, and unfortunately had to lay off, or at least announce the plans to lay off about 18% of its staff. But there's a lot of reason to be hopeful. The reason why I'm really bullish on Coinbase is because number one, they have billions and billions of dollars in reserve. When you have all these exchanges freezing people's withdrawals and closing up shop, Coinbase has so much money in its reserve. So if people start just taking it out in mass, they have enough to be able to provide a buffer to continue operations. Secondly, they've been around since 2012, so about a decade, and have had 10 years to really develop good governance and sound business practices. If you look at their executive leadership team, they were big players at some of the heavy hitter technology companies, Google, all these different development companies that are top of the line. They have these folks that are in various sectors and departments that are now in leadership positions at Coinbase. And then lastly, man, they're doing a good job in marketing. They're doing a heck of a job. The Super Bowl ad kind of stole the show. They had 77,000, I think, Twitter mentions. They are signing exclusive deals with the NBA. They have a bunch of other outlets of media for traditional print media. And so they're getting their name out there, even though crypto as a whole is down. It's funny, Coinbase actually rises and falls with Bitcoin. And so they were at their height, I think, back in last November, 2021. But when people get back into the crypto game, I believe that Coinbase is one of the places that people are going to know and remember because they hear it everywhere. And for that reason, that's why I think I have a pretty strong outlook, even during this bear market, for Coinbase. What about yourself?
Wow, that's a really good one. I think that's really, especially as it dips lower and lower. For me, I'm going to say my last pick is the SAND token. And my reason for the SAND token is that that's the main token to transact with in the sandbox. You can also use Ethereum, but the thing about it is you have some very big players that have bought up a lot of land in the sandbox. You have people coming in the sandbox that are going to be designing games, that are going to be designing experiences, that are going to do all sorts of things. In order to transact in the sandbox, they're going to have to use the SAND token, which puts buy pressure on the token. The second thing about SAND that's unique is that it has a ceiling on the supply, and only 17% of the supply or SAND tokens in circulation are tradable. So that gives it a really good chance of spiking as that influx of demand comes, as the sandbox grows in utility and recognizability, and even bigger players come in and do things. That's going to put a lot of buy pressure on the token and allow it to really rise in value. It's similar to Ethereum. It's a picks and shovels play also, and I like to go with things like that because I feel that those are safe and they have staying power.
Yeah. Well, John, I think those are excellent picks. Grateful that who everybody took the time to check out what we had today. These aren't some of the most home run, pie in the sky pipe dream picks. I think these are relatively stable while at the same time being kind of on the cutting edge. Certainly. If you take a look at these 6 that we talked about today, you look at their track record, they have the things that you really want in a investment, not just like a moonshot, or at least hope for a moonshot. These have some really good reasons for people to get behind them in the future. They've had some really good all-time highs, and it's likely based on the criteria that they'll get back there again. I think these are really good to check out in a bear market. A bear market, it may not last a few months like a couple people are hoping. It may last a year. It may last a little bit longer. We've been on a really long bull run in the traditional stock market and even in the crypto market. But, as people in the space like to say, time in the market's much more important than trying to time the market. So once you get in, try to stay in there, try to hold, try to hodl. And, before you get in, though, do your research. Don't take our advice for it. Do your own research and get into the game when you feel comfortable with an amount you're comfortable with getting in. John, do you have any further closing comments for us?
Well, when you were talking about the bear market, something just came to me. Abraham left his home and went into a strange land.
That's right.
And bear market. Isaac sowed seed in a famine, in a bear market. Joseph took all the resources in Egypt and bought up all the livestock, all the currency, and all the land in a bear market. So for some reason, spiritually, God loves to use bear markets to produce wealth. And if you can see and have a perspective that's different from the stat quo or the norm, you can really do something great. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
I think that's good. I think it's a great place to close. Guys, the Olympian, John DuBard, crypto conquistador, his information is going to be in the description. Hit him up if you have any questions. My stuff's going to be in the description as well. God bless. Take it easy. Happy investing. Be safe. Talk to you soon.